Sometimes when I have moral dilemmas, I like to journal. I do that when I have a storytelling issue as well. And I just kind of want to bring you into that today because I have a moral dilemma, and it was something I was on one side of the fence about, and now I'm standing on the edge of it. And I got some feelings. This one's about specifically generative AI. And I have said quite emphatically in the past that I was against it, that it's morally bankrupt. But a client came and asked me to make some generative AI videos. And I know I won't send them to him unless they're good. So I need to figure out exactly what I feel, because I'm now at a point where it's a decision time. A lot of people in the film industry, including the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, AMPAS, have taken hard stances against generative AI on some levels. Specifically, what they're interested in is keeping people employed. And I support that wholly. I think that's a great motivation. And I will not do something that will cost people jobs. But as an ultra low budget independent filmmaker, I'm not costing anybody any jobs. I'm not hiring anybody to do something if I can do it myself. So nobody's losing work on this particular one. The second issue is that the founders of these AI companies, be they Google or Grok or ChatGPT, are morally bankrupt. There's no denying that. I haven't followed the founders or CEOs of Anthropic, but they hang out in a space that's techno-utopian, I think, to a fault. And I don't think there's any denying that. But here's the thing. In the United States, if you pay taxes, you are directly funding ICE. Its current implementation is evil. You are directly funding the invasion and exploitation of other countries like Iran and Palestine. Those things are not escapable in the United States. Sometimes I delude myself in thinking that maybe that's not the case, but I keep a memento as a reminder of what it is, of what the United States actually is. These boots. These are the most amazing hiking, running boots I have ever had. They fit great. For an enclosed shoe, they are the second most comfortable shoe I have ever worn. The first is an Ugg boot. They are 3 years old and the tread is still strong. They are made of leather. They are light. They are less expensive than other boots. They're made by Nike and they're put together by slaves. And slavery is a spectrum. They are paid, but they're paid so low that they have to choose sometimes between eating or feeding their children and clothing, which means they're not being paid a fair wage. They're slaves. You can say they can choose not to work, but then they have no money. So that's not a real choice. There is no escaping the toxicity of evil in the United States. That's not a debate. So the fact that the AI companies are also part of that is not a debate. The next question is biases. The problem with morally bankrupt people at the head of designing these artificial intelligence that are being developed are that the AI are learning the biases of their founders. That's a bad thing. Yeah, there's no real getting around that either. Maybe someone will develop an ethical AI, but the people who now have 1, 2, 3, 4 trillion dollar AI companies, yeah, there's no ethics to them. They're bankrupt. Like, we can't deny that. They can put on constraints at some user tier levels, but there are going to be user tier levels that do not have those constraints. The public has one level, like I can't design warfare machinery with the level of access that I'm afforded to, but if I were a government, I promise you one of the AI companies is helping the government design strategies. And that's the other issue, is that whatever stance you hold on AI, the world is not going back. And whoever wins AI wins everything. This is the everything game. If you have not realized this about artificial intelligence, then you haven't really played with it. The degree to which it amplifies and accelerates what's possible is extraordinary. Yes, there are a lot of AI slop out there. People who do not have a skill set are using it and generating trash, and this is real. But a professional photographer and former train driver in China made a short film called Zombie Scavenger.
Sector clear.
Have you ever met Miss Lindy? She's a gal with a bright red.
And it's entertaining. The video is on par with what can be created in Unreal Engine, but Unreal Engine takes a little while to learn, and it takes an enormous amount of processing power, which will not run on my computer. And then to get the motion right, you basically have to use motion capture or buy movements from Unreal Engine vendors. In other words, AI is cheaper and more possible. Like I said, Unreal Engine will not run on my 6-year-old, now 7-year-old, 6-year-old M1 Mac Mini. It won't run. I tried. It used to run. Even Unreal Engine 5 ran, but Apple throttled my Mac Mini, so that won't run. So that's not an option. If it were an option, that's what I'd be doing. But it's not for me, and I can't afford a new computer that will run it. The one that I want is the MacBook Pro M5 Max with 128 gigs of RAM. You can go ahead and build that out, and you'll see that it's a $6,000, $5,000 laptop. I can't afford that at this point. If I could, that's what I'd be doing. And then I'd be running Unreal Engine, and we're back to that same problem. I am in a place as a filmmaker where I have the skills to know what's good. I can produce what's good. I can see what's good. I can tweak the prompt of an AI to get it to do what's good. And Zombie Scavenger proved that can be done. So it's not a quality problem anymore. It's not an AI slop problem anymore. The industry has shifted. The Hollywood industry has shifted. I was afraid that my filmmaking peers would disown me and hate me if I used AI. I know some people who are going to be very upset, so I started consulting them. I talked with 3 ethical friends, and to a person, they all said, take the job, use the AI. Some of them acknowledge the issues that I mentioned earlier. The primary issue I have with generative AI is that it is trained on data that was generated by creatives, and the creatives were not compensated for that generated data. Meaning, novelists had their novels stolen and fed into the large language models during training phase to teach the AI what English looks like. And those novelists were not compensated. It also stole every scientific paper ever published, every essay ever published, all poetry, pretty much everything that was written prior to the training data being encapsulated into a package that was sold to these AI companies in every language was given to these companies, and they have developed the models based on that massive everything ever written database. That was my primary issue. And then 2 nights ago, I ran across a question, and this is the real crux of it. In a theoretical justice system, for a theft to have occurred, there must be demonstrable harm done. It could be financial harm, it could be emotional harm, it could be a physical thing that's missing. If demonstrable harm has been done, then it's a theft. It's a damage that needs to be compensated and reconciled. When I asked myself this question and applied it to the stolen data, and I'm not going to call it anything else, it was taken without the rights of the authors, was demonstrable harm done to the authors? To answer that question, we have to ask another question. How does an author make money? An author, a novelist, will make money by licensing or selling their book to a publisher. If you're with an ethical publisher, they will give you money up front against which the book will sell. And if the sales amount that you have agreed to, it's like 5% of each sale, makes more than the amount that the publisher fronts you first, then you start making royalties. Stephen King's novels all do that. Most other novels do not. Were book sales harmed by generative AI slurping it up and using that? Were people who were going to buy the book then choosing not to buy the book because the data was slurped up by AI? The answer is no. People are reading less. Sometimes it fluctuates up and down. Every industry says, oh no, we're dying, but they've been saying that for decades.
His medical condition is reported as terminal. He's only going to live another 6 months anyway.
He's been dying of the same heart attack for 20 years.
So novel sales were not damaged by the books being slurped up. What are other forms that the novelists can make money? Their books can be adapted into other forms of media, like video games, like movies, like limited series. Is that stopped by the book being slurped into AI's training data? The movies that are being made off of books are still being made off of books. In fact, one of the gateways into Hollywood is called pre-existing intellectual property, pre-existing IP. If you have a book that has sold well, Hollywood wants it because they're lazy in advertising, and those books already have a built-in audience. It's already a good story. People will come to see the movie version of a book they've read, which is weird because they already saw the movie version in their head, but that's what people do. No money that the author would have been making is taken away from them by it being slurped into AI. There's theoretical money that they could have made by AI companies paying them for the royalties, but that's theoretical money. That's not real money. That's not real harm. Are their feelings hurt? Yes. Are they upset? Yes. Is it right? That becomes a difficult question. In my movie that I wrote and directed, Algorithm,
I don't care about the law or who makes it. I live by one rule. Information should be free. And everything can be simplified, encoded, and understood as information.
Information should be freely available so that even and especially the people with the least amount of money can be on an equal footing with the people with the most amount of money. It is why I post my stuff on YouTube, so that it's freely accessible to everyone in the world. That is the reason. I still make money on advertising, not a lot, but some, and I also take contract work outside of that, which is what this is really about. So I am on the fence, and I don't know if my being on the fence is a vestige of what I used to feel, or if there is still some moral boundary that I haven't yet crossed, that I'm feeling and sensing somewhere inside me. Am I contributing to a system that is malevolent? If the US stops developing AI, if capitalism and liberalism, whatever, stop developing AI, China's not going to stop. Russia's not going to stop. Israel's not going to stop. Somebody's going to develop it, and it's going to be strong, and whoever does wins everything. They win war, they win chemistry, they win engineering, they win science, they win fiction, they win everything. That's the stakes. And the race is neck and neck. So the US isn't going to stop. Now I come to another interesting query. One of the spiritual wisdom teachers that I appreciate is a guy named Jiddu Krishnamurti. And one of his famous quotes is, "It is no sign of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." These boots prove that the United States is a profoundly sick society. There's no debating that. It is. Everything it touches gets contaminated by it. Everything, from spirituality to philanthropy, whatever it is, it gets contaminated by what the United States is. I know that I am. Even though I do my best to examine my biases, I know I have biases that are contaminated by what this place is, by my upbringing. One of the reasons I strive for spirituality above everything else is because I'm hoping that by realizing my unity with Creator, I transcend those biases. But until then, I know they're there, and I don't even know what they are. I'm getting closer and up to eliminating some of them. The more obvious ones have been ground away, but not completely. Is my willingness to make AI video for a client a form of me becoming well adjusted to this profoundly sick society? I don't know. I don't have an answer. This vlog is my publicly working out the ideas by expressing all of the variables I can think of. There's one other variable. There's the environmental variable, which I feel I would be remiss if I didn't at least mention it. The three factors are AI data centers generate an enormous amount of heat. Global warming is real, and that's bad. There's no getting around that. The infrastructure to build them also is harmful. We can mitigate it in a variety of ways, but that's not really happening under the current presidential administration. The second problem, and this is real, and I feel this as a citizen of California or as a resident of California, is that every data center, every AI data center uses 10 megawatts of electricity. That's a lot. To put that in perspective, every single nuclear power plant generates only 10 megawatts. So, every data center requires its own nuclear reactor, or the equivalent of solar, or wind, or hydroelectric, whatever it is. They consume an enormous amount of energy. That's gonna get better over time, but at this point, it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And I feel that because I pay an extra $20 tax. One, because Edison didn't maintain their electric lines like they said they would. They are a publicly traded company, and they optimized for shareholder profits instead of the citizens for which they were supposed to be providing a utility. In my case, in my wife and my case, that means our electric bill basically doubled because we don't use a lot of electricity. So the electric generation is real. But electric cars are also causing a similar problem, along with other problems. Are they better than internal combustion engines? 100%. I'm not arguing against that. We need to have electric cars instead of internal combustion engines. Hybrids are a great stopgap. My dream car is a Prius for that reason. Then there's water. AI data centers generate a lot of heat. And even with that heat that it needs to be transferred off of the GPUs running the AI. Otherwise, the GPUs will melt. And they do that by circulating water. A lot of people claim that the water is being used by AI. Here's the thing. The water isn't destroyed by cooling AI. It's not, the hydrogen and oxygen atoms aren't separated. The water isn't contaminated by the AI data centers. Heat is transferred from the hot GPUs into the cooler water, and then the water is sent somewhere else to cool down and then cycled back through the data center. So the water is not being destroyed. It's being used, but not, it's still water. So that's kind of where I'm at. If I do this AI video, and if I do it well, there's a chance that I could make $500,000 on this project. That may not be a lot to many of you, but it will easily be more money than I have ever made in my life. I think my skill sets warrant that pay. I cannot deny the fact that that enormous quantity of money is a motivation, and I can't deny that it may be skewing my point of view on this issue. That's where I'm at. I need to make a decision and let the producer know by tomorrow. I think it'd be really cool to have a documentary, a biopic, made that includes footage that would be profoundly or prohibitively difficult to generate, that is AI generated, at a high quality, intercut with footage that is real. I think it's a great augmentation tool. I think it allows me to be a better, more efficient filmmaker. I wouldn't trust it on its own at this point, but I have a good eye, a cinematic eye. I've been trained for the past 12, 13 years to be good at this, and I think I'm pretty good at it. We're at an inflection point as a culture, and we have to decide. And the AI is going to continue anyway, and people are going to continue using it. And either people will get on board, or there will be a draw to organic cinema. Maybe that's what it'll be called, that does not use AI, and it'll be a niche. And I hope that happens. I hope there are purists like Christopher Nolan who still uses film. I do not use film. I use a digital camera. He shoots on film. Some people prefer that. I think it's great. I follow a guy named Nick Carver on YouTube, and I highly recommend you do. His videos are like deep, calming, beautiful therapy. He is a architecture photographer who also goes around showing him taking large format film photography, and some of his images are really beautiful. And he's a great YouTuber if you need a sedative against the high speed that this world is. Nick Carver. Props to Nick Carver, props to Christopher Nolan. It's not the direction I'm going. I want the tools that allow me to tell the stories as best I can, as efficiently as I can, without hurting anyone. This video is longer than the others. There's probably more I should be talking about, so I don't know that this video is too long, but I have to stop it. I have other things to do today. You will see me next week.